Hi folks, how's it going? I just wanted to talk about my recent day hike on the East Coast Trail. If you haven't seen that video yet, go and watch it. I'll put a link down in the description below. Um, but if you don't know about the East Coast Trail, it's on the east coast of Newfoundland and it runs for 332 kilometers from Cappahayden, which is the southern terminus, up to, I think it's called, um, gosh, I can't remember now. That's horrible. It's not far from here. Well, an hour. I'll put it here. For the northern terminus. So last Saturday, Cindy Lou and I went out for a day hike with the East Coast Trail Club, and it was an hour and a half drive to get there from my house. And then we hiked for, gosh, I think it was about 4 hours, maybe a little bit more, on the actual trail, and then it was a little while longer on a dirt road to get back to the parking. So first off, it is absolutely beautiful. Everything about the trail was just stunningly gorgeous, whether we were, on a ledge overlooking the ocean or if we were stuck into the woods. It was difficult. I didn't look at what the trail rating was beforehand. I mean, you've seen Cindy Lou and I, we've gone out backpacking, we go out hiking on some pretty sketchy trails and some difficult trails in Ontario, but the difficulty level on this trail was up here compared to the trails that I've done in Ontario, and some of them are rated difficult. So mostly it had rained overnight and into the early morning. It was still wet when I left home. The roads were all still wet when I left home. So the trail was wet, and there are sections, whether you're out on a ledge or in the woods, there are sections of the trail that are overgrown with very thick, dense scrub bush. So it hides, you've got about this much space that's visible, so it's hiding all of the tripping hazards underneath, like roots and rocks, which are, pretty standard for when you're hiking in the woods, but they're covered so you can't see them, and they were wet and slippery. So I did fall once. Had just crossed over a stream, and Cindy Lou was eager to catch up to the person who was, I don't know, maybe 2 meters away, and so she was yanking on my on the leash, and I just slipped on it was a very slippery rock. My poles both went out from under me, and I landed on my pole, so I've got a bruise right here. It hurts. And then the guy who was behind me, who was the group caboose, I guess you could say. He was not the hike leader, but he was like a part of the whatever, the trained hike leaders or whatever. But he was bringing up the caboose to make sure that everybody was there. And excuse me, got something in my eyes. So the guy behind me, he got over the stream, saw me fall, and then took a step and slipped on the exact same rock, and he almost landed on me, but he luckily caught himself and didn't land on me, because for sure my pole would have broken then. But then I might have gotten more injured. So I'm not injured, I just have a bruise on my back. It's kind of my low back, almost on my backside, and just, about as wide as the trekking pole. I know I've said previously on my channel that I don't enjoy group hikes, and this one kind of solidified that even further. However, the hike was better than groups group hikes I've been on in Ontario, because the group was smaller. For one, there was maybe a dozen people. I'm not even sure. There was 12, and there was 2 people leading it. Group hikes that I've done in Ontario, like day hikes and stuff, there's not always a second person bringing up the rear end to make sure that everybody is there. And I've been on some really, really, really big group hikes, and I just found it very annoying to be with that many people out there just making noise and crashing and complaining about getting their brand new running shoes dirty, which, okay, you're out for a hike in the woods. Your feet are going to get dirty. Anyway, so, I mean, the hike itself was good, but with Cindy Lou, I don't think I will take her on a group hike again in future. So I probably will not join ECT group hikes again myself, because I can't just leave her home alone while I'm out for a hike in the woods. That would be mean. Mainly because I'll show a little clip here, but because she was trying to catch up to the people ahead of us all the time, that as she was hiking, she was pulling on me. So the waist belt where she was attached to was digging into my kidneys, and it was very uncomfortable for me. But her harness, I had her on a harness, but her harness was, I guess, pushing up here just on the low part of her throat. So she was wheezing with that, trying to, with that thing just like pushing into her throat and trying to catch up. So she's pulling me so much that she's wheezing, and I can't get her to slow down because she's gonna snap this. Settle down. Come on. So that was not good for her. It was not good for me. It was very stressful. So I don't think I will take her on a group hike again in future, and I don't think I will go either, just for that reason, because I don't want to leave her home alone, because the trail is so far away, and it's closer than any of the trails that I went in Ontario, but because it takes like an hour to an hour and a half to drive there, 4 to 5 hours to hike, and then another hour to hour and a half to drive home, I can't leave her home alone that long. That would just be cruel. So will we hike on the ECT again? Yeah, we will. Not with a large group. I still don't know anybody here that I can just call up and say, hey, let's go for a hike, or let's go backpacking, or let's go camping. So if we do go, it will probably just be me and her. But I really did enjoy the hike. It was just a little bit stressful because of Cindy Lou trying to catch up with all the people the whole time. The people there were great. There was it was mostly people who are from Newfoundland. Most of them were from the St. John's area. There was one person who was here on holiday from Ontario. Another woman who is now she's a local in St. John's, but was originally from Kent, England. So her accent was just a little bit Newfoundland, a little bit England. So that was kind of strange. But most everybody else was from Newfoundland, from in or around like the suburb of St. John's. I drove the furthest, so I was tired by the time I got there, because driving for an hour and a half is tiring, and I had to get up so early. The hike started at 9 a.m. I arrived at like 9:06 to the parking lot. When we first got there, Cindy Lou was very excited because the parking lot is right there at a dog park, and there was a couple of dogs in the dog park. She thought we were there to go to the park to play. Unfortunately, we were there to go for a hike. And then everybody took off, and then just as we got outside of the parking lot, so I was further away from any garbage bins there than it would have been to turn around and go back. But she pooped, and so I had to pick that up and then tie it to her pack, or to her harness, and then we had to try and catch up to the rest of the people, which we didn't catch up until they had made their first kind of overlook stop, which, I mean, that was fine. It wasn't a huge issue. I wasn't worried. I could have done the hike even without the rest of the group. There's a couple of places where there was a side trail that I might have got turned around on because I hadn't downloaded any of the apps. I hadn't looked at that section on the map or anything. It was kind of a last minute thing. I saw that they were doing a group hike on Saturday, so we just went. Oh, jeez. I did check with the hike organizers first to make sure that it was okay to bring Cindy Lou. First, they said no dogs, because there would have been because the original plan was to have a shuttle, everyone to meet in the parking lot, and then the two group leaders were going to shuttle hikers up to the trailhead where we finished, where we ended up finishing, and then they were going to shuttle us up there, and then we were going to hike back down to our cars. But then they changed the plan and said, yes, you can bring the dog. And then we just ended up doing the hike and then walking back down the road, which was probably good because if you see in the video, there was a car, it was a 4-wheel drive car, and it was a rally car. I don't think it was the rally driver though that was in the car. But they got stuck on that road because there was some big sections that were washed out or had been washed out previously. So there was like a big divot, some rather long, can't speak, some rather large divots and kind of dry rivers running through the road. And Cindy Lou's got the zoomies. Got the zoomies. Zoomy. No? Okay. So that their cars may not have made it over those things, and there wasn't really anywhere to park on that road, so I'm not sure what they had planned. Here's Cindy Lou play, go get. So yeah, the trail, it kicked my butt. It was a lot of up. It felt like there was more up than there was down. The elevation. The highest elevation is maybe 800 something feet, but we're going from literally sea level up to that in just a couple of kilometers. Editor Reba here. The information that I just gave you there is the information that I was given when we were on trail by the gentleman who was behind me on the trail. The hike guide. He said the highest elevation we're going to get today is about 800 feet. Well, I just looked it up, and it's actually over 2,000 feet. So yeah, it was even harder than I thought. So I feel a little bit better about myself because we actually had over 2,000 feet of elevation gain just going straight up. And the trail from one end to the other is about 13 and a half kilometers. So then we did a total of 14 and a bit, including the road walk. So yeah, I'm just sticking this in there so we can clear things up a bit. And then you go down for a little bit again for a lookout, and then you go back up again, and then you go down a little bit and then back up again. So it was a lot. And then with the slippery conditions and the trail being only this wide in some spots, and you can't even get your trekking poles into the brush, and with Cindy Lou pulling on me, it was really hard. And I mean, if you see the video, you can just hear me breathing really, really hard. So I'm out of shape. The dog was sounded like she was out of shape as well. It sounded like she'd just been out for a party the night before and smoked a pack of cigarettes. Yeah, you did. So we need to work on our fitness, and probably won't go out with a large group again. She's usually okay. If it's just me and her, she is usually loose on the leash and is not pulling me down the trail. I mean, when we're going downs on descents, yes, sometimes the leash will become taut, but she's not usually, running and trying to catch up to people. Even if we have gone out with Lisa and or Katana, she is not usually pulling and being a menace to whoever is holding on to her. So usually if I'm out with other people, I also have someone else to hold the dog when I want to take video, or if I want to set up a shot or something. When it's just me with the dog, and I had her clipped onto my waist bag. There's a little loop on it, so I put the dog clip on that, and then I had my trekking poles, and I had the GoPro either stuck in my sternum strap or in my waist belt, which my waist belt is where I used to put it before I had the dog, and it used to work out perfectly, but with her pulling, it doesn't work because the camera just kind of goes like this. And then on a couple of the videos that I shot that I didn't put in, I had it in the sternum strap, but the hat that I was wearing had the chin strap, and I had that one on because I knew it was going to be windy once we got up to like the top of outlooks and stuff. So I had that hat on so it stays on. This one tends to blow away. But then the string was like dangling in front of the lens for a lot of the shots that I had done when I put it in there. So if I was holding on to the camera and holding on to both trekking poles in this hand and had her dragging me down the trail, that's one of the ways that I fell, because I wasn't properly balanced, and it was just, it's too difficult that way. I should have, or I could have put on, I have the GoPro chesty, so I could have put that on. I just don't know. I'm not sure. I don't think I've ever tried it with the backpack. So I'll have to try that at some point, or try and figure out some way to strap it to my pack. I do have a couple of clips that will go on backpack straps, and I've tried them, but they just where I have to put them because of other things that are attached to my strap, it tends to be up here right on my collarbone or somewhere else that's not comfortable. So yeah, I'm not sure what to do with cameras. And since I got her, since I adopted her, that's been a question when I'm out solo, is how do I figure out, trekking poles and stuff like that. This trail proved to be a lot more difficult than other trails that we've done, and more difficult than I thought it would be. Even though I've seen a bunch of videos on YouTube of people doing the trail, I guess I didn't see anybody do it who was honest about how difficult it is. I think it's just started raining again. So yeah, that is that's my take on that particular stretch of. It was hard. I think it was called Biscan Path, Biscan. It was tricky. It was difficult. It's a lot of up. I'm not overly fond of ups. And it felt there was more up than there was downs, and a couple of the downs were steep, and because it had rained, slippery. So I'm gonna have to get in better shape because that trail kicked my butt. Two, I'm gonna have to figure out proper ways to tether the dog to me, because the dog, by trail rules, is required to be on leash at all times, and I do not let Cindy Lou off leash at all unless we are in an off leash dog park. Two, I didn't have her pack on her, I just had the harness on her. And the rules are on the East Coast Trail: human and pet waste must be carried out. No cat holes. You can't bury it. You can't leave it there. So I had forgotten about that. And there's no garbage cans along the trail or at lookouts or anything like that. So I'd carry it, and I had tied it to her harness, and it kept coming untied, I think 3 or 4 times. So I ended up carrying it once we got to the road, and that's a little bit annoying because I didn't want to put it in my pack and have my pack smell like dog poo. So I'm either gonna have to get some sort of, either have her pack on her whenever we go out, whether it's empty or has something in it, so that I can put the poo in her pack, or get some wag bags or something to carry her poop, and if I happen to poop. Also, another difficulty we had is water, and since I have adopted her, this has been a struggle every time. I don't know how much water to take. It wasn't a particularly hot day. It was at the upper limit of my comfort level. It was 76 Fahrenheit, which is 24.4 Celsius. My upper limit is 25 Celsius. And it was, because it was so strenuous, I took 2 liters of water, and I took my Canuck collection bag and my filter. But because we were in a group, and because she was trying to constantly catch up with everybody, the 1 or 2 times that there was opportunity to get water to filter it, there was no way that she was going to let me do that. And I didn't want to hold up the group guy at the end by having to stop for water. So he was kind enough. He gave us like half a liter or so when we were toward the end, but I had totally run out of water by that point. So I need to figure out water and carrying. So she's either going to have to carry her own water, or I'm going to have to take twice as much water as I normally do. So normally on my own, I'm usually always carrying 2 liters just for myself. If I carry 2 liters for me and the dog, we run out of water quickly. I will pour water in her bowl for her, and then she'll go, no, I don't want it. So then I just pour it on the ground, where I should be just pouring it back into the bottle. There was a couple of times, yes, I was desperate for water. I poured water in her bowl. She said, no, I don't want it. So then I drank it out of her bowl, which, I mean, it's clean. I clean it, when we come home. But people looked at me like, oh my God, who is this woman? Clearly, they don't know hiker trash. Cindy Lou's looking at me like, I'm not hiker trash. What are you talking about? Poor Will Fang. So yeah, that's, if anybody has any suggestions on what to do about carrying water for you and a dog. I don't want to weigh her down so much with carrying her own water, but I think she's gonna have to. Do I take like 2 500 milliliter bottles and put them in her pack, or I have the 1 liter, 2 1 liter water bags that came with her backpack, but that's 4.4 pounds of water for her to carry. Is it? No, 4.4 liter. Oh gosh. Okay, 1 liter weighs 2.2 pounds, or 1 kilogram. So that would be 2 kilograms of water, or 4.4 pounds. Yes. So, I mean, for a day hike, do I want her to have to carry that much water? Or do I somehow find I don't want to use smart water bottles. I guess I will if I have to. But I would prefer not to use single-use plastic. So, do I get Canuck 500 milliliters? I don't even know if they make them. Anyway, so if anybody, dog owners who backpack with your dogs, if you have any suggestions on how you manage carrying water for you and your dog and not having to weigh down the dog. Please let me know. Comment below. If you are not a person with a dog who's out hiking, if you know someone who is a person who is out hiking with their dog, please share this with them so that they can share their suggestions. Because I'm really at a loss. I always run out of water, and the two of us are always struggling with dehydration. I did have a headache by the time we reached the car, which is not good. So anyway, that is our experience, our first experience on the East Coast Trail. Hopefully not the last. I do live within an hour of the northern terminus, which again, I can't remember the name of the town, but I will put it up here. So hopefully we will get out there at some point. And hopefully I will get sorted out with how to hold the camera and what to do about water. So thank you for watching. Thank you for hitting the like button. Thank you for subscribing, and thank you for commenting below any suggestions that you have, or just you want to say hey. So, hey, how's it going? I'll see you later.